We're exploring the world of immersive production for the Apple Vision Pro. We took the URSA Cine Immersive on an adventure shoot in the Swiss Alps. In this video, you will see how we process and edit our immersive footage in DaVinci Resolve. What do you need to edit Apple Immersive Video? 3 things: a fast computer, high-speed storage, and a studio license of DaVinci Resolve. Smooth timeline performance, even when moderate effects are applied, is a common goal for editors. Stereoscopic 8K at 90 frames per second requires a great deal of compute power. But it's likely that whatever computer you use, at some point you will need to use proxies or render caching for smooth playback. In our edit suite, we are using a Mac Studio M2 Ultra. Suffice to say, it's possible to create immersive content on a variety of computers, but your experience will improve as your computer budget increases. While on production, we use this lacy 2-big dock hard drive to collate and back up our immersive footage. It's possible to edit directly from the 2-big dock. However, you will need to use proxies as the drive's read speed cannot sustain the 900 megabytes per second required by the 12:1 BRAW. Please note that while the 2-big dock's read speed will affect timeline performance, it's unlikely to affect render performance, as the CPU and GPU will create the bottleneck, not the storage speed. Another option is the Blackmagic Cloud Store Max. It's filled with NVMe .2 solid-state storage and has a 10 gigabit connection. You could connect it via a 10 gig switch and share it with other editors. I'm going to connect it directly to the Mac Studio, which conveniently has a 10 gigabit port. This solution is fast enough to satisfy the read requirements of our immersive media. Finally, to preview on the Vision Pro, we need a Wi-Fi network. It's best to use 5 GHz for higher speeds. Alternatively, using a developer strap for your Vision Pro allows you to connect directly to your Mac via USB-C. Getting media ready for edit is a multi-step process. We shot over 30 terabytes. We only have a 24 terabyte cloud store. That's not a problem. It's pretty easy to find 6 terabytes of media that can be immediately deleted. Given the size of immersive files, many people will want to make an early purge part of their workflow. Copying the media will likely be an overnight job. Lower resolution proxies reduce the compute burden on your computer because it's processing less pixels. They can also relieve the strain on your storage as they require less read speed. So for example, if we were still using mechanical disks for our working storage, proxies would fix the real-time playback issue. Time to create our project. Create a new project, go to Project Settings, and select Enable Apple Immersive Workflow. There are 2 resolution options, full resolution or half resolution. It's possible in Resolve to work low and render high. That is, choose the lower half resolution to enable better timeline performance while editing, and later change to full resolution when rendering. For the time being, I will choose full resolution. Performance can be further improved by having Resolve decode the camera's BRAW at half resolution. Again though, we will leave it set to full. Hit Save. You're now ready to start importing media. My media is already organized into folders, and I can benefit from that by dragging the root folder into the directory tree in Resolve. It will recreate those folders as bins. I will create additional bins for timelines and other assets. Apple Immersive Video, or AIV, has specific color space delivery requirements. That will be dealt with when it's time for color grade. For now, I will enable DaVinci Resolve Color Management and output to Rec. 709. This will allow me to edit with normalized footage that appears correct on a typical SDR monitor. We will be using some 2D footage in this immersive video. As the drone footage color space is not tagged, I need to manually set its input color space. Do you or your colleagues need to watch rushes on a Vision Pro? Then you need to make dailies. Often when creating dailies, you might render individual files for each clip. Uploading hundreds of files to your Vision Pro and navigating them might not be the simplest. Instead, we will group dailies into reels. I've made a timeline for each reel. Each timeline contains all the clips from that reel. To identify individual clips, enable data burn-in. I like to place the burn-in at the bottom of the screen. When viewing in headset, to see the burn-in, just look straight down. Otherwise, when watching normally, you won't know it's there. Now, head to the Deliver page and choose the Apple Vision Pro Preview Delivery preset. Name it. I'll use the timeline name metadata to do that. and now it can be added to the queue. It's possible to encode your dailies with lower resolutions and bit rates, but use caution. Dailies could be used to evaluate the usability of a shot. It's difficult to do so with a low-quality file, and sometimes dailies get handed to people who don't understand that it's a low-quality preview when making their decisions. Rendering dailies is once again an overnight job. If you don't want to occupy your primary edit workstation and you're not in a rush, use another computer. Even modest hardware, like an M4 Mini, will happily chug through the material. This is another advantage of hosting your footage on a network device like the cloud store. Multiple computers can access it simultaneously. We recorded separate audio using a Sennheiser MBO, Zoom F6, Sennheiser MKE2, and Tentacle Track E. To facilitate sync, we use Tentacle's timecode system. First things first, we need to enable the audio formats we're going to use. Head to Preferences, Video and Audio I/O, enable Ambisonics, and Apple Spatial Audio Format. This is a system setting. You'll only need to do it once on each computer. The Zoom F6 has recorded 6 channels, a stereo mix, and the 4 individual channels from the Ambio's 4 capsules. We don't need the stereo mix, and Resolve needs to be told that these are Ambisonic recordings. As all the imported audio files have the same problem, we can reconfigure them in one pass. Select them all, right-click, go to Clip Attributes, and then the Audio tab. First, let's add a single Ambisonic first-order track. Now I can delete all the mono tracks. Finally, we need to reconfigure the Ambisonic track. We don't want to use the left and right mix, we want to use the original tracks recorded from the microphone. That's tracks 1 through 4. If Leon had turned off the left and right mix in Recorder, there would have been fewer steps to perform, but no biggie though. Hit OK. Now we can sync visuals with their accompanying audio. It's important to remember that timecode doesn't contain the date. So an audio file shot at midday on Tuesday will look the same as an audio file shot at midday on Wednesday. This is where good organization is key. Group audio and video clips based on the day that they were shot. What's really cool, Resolve will only sync files with the matching audio, so you don't need to be particular and identify which shots have audio or which visuals belong with which audio files. Just select everything from that day and go to Auto Sync Audio and hit Sync. The synced audio column allows us to see what has happened. Where there is audio with matching timecode, synced audio has been added. Like any other project in Resolve, it's possible to organize your footage with tools like metadata, keywords, and smart bins. This project is simple though. We're familiar with the footage. We're just going to jump straight into the edit. Let's create a new timeline using project settings. My first task is to create an assembly edit. It's good to have a plan. While the majority of the edit will follow our adventure in chronological order, we want to start with a bang, and sitting on a train just isn't that compelling. So we'll start with some stunning mountain visuals before heading back to the beginning. Even though we have fast storage and a powerful computer, you will often see us editing with proxies. Here's the clips I'm looking for. I'll load a clip into the source viewer, preview it, create in and out points, and insert it into the timeline. Let's repeat that with the next shot where I'm sitting and enjoying the view. Just like normal 2D editing, I'm cutting on action for continuity. From a technical standpoint, editing immersive is much like editing any other media. Moving forward, we're going to focus on parts of the process that do differ. I will continue to go through my rushes, shot by shot, adding clips to the timeline, building out a story. As you go, remember, immersive stories tend to have longer shots with less edits. My edits are around 10 seconds each, give or take. A similar rule of thumb might help you as you make your initial assembly. This video is sponsored by Audiio, where you can get high-quality, royalty-free music for just $200 a year. But with our discount code, you can get your first year for just $60. We've been planning the music since before we started shooting. It's common to take inspiration from commercial tracks. If this project had a larger budget, we could license those songs. But an important objective for us was to show how stunning immersive productions can be produced with a small budget. All of that time that we've spent listening to commercial music isn't a waste. We can feed those songs into Audio's Link Match AI, and it will find songs in its own library with a similar energy and genre. Version 2 has brought many improvements, including the ability to select a specific portion of a song to match against. Give Audiio a try. At just $60 for an entire year, you don't have anything to lose. There's a link and discount code in the description. I'm integrating 2D footage into this edit. This comes from the Mavic M4 Pro and the Pixis 6K. To keep organized, I shall place the 2D material in its own track. When I place a 2D clip, it will be scaled to fill the entire 180-degree immersive field of view. That's because project scaling settings are set to fit. Those 2D shots will also appear distorted when viewed in headset. That's because immersive edits are delivered in lens space. The 2D material is presently rectilinear, but will be unwrapped as if it was in lens space. For the time being, I will scale these clips down so they're not as intense in the early preview renders. In a future video, we will explain how to process 2D material in the Fusion page. Back to the immersive shots. Finally, depending on how the camera was set up, there might be immersive-specific settings we need to configure and resolve. Most of the time, when shooting, the camera is kept perfectly level so that the audience's in-headset orientation matches the camera's real-world orientation. In this shot, as we're at the top of the mountain, everything interesting is below us. There's nothing in the sky to look at. So Leon tilted the camera down specifically by 15 degrees. To give more field of view when the audience looks down. You can tell the camera is tilted because the horizon in the image is distorted and doesn't run through the center of the image. If left uncorrected, this might disorientate the viewer, as the horizon would appear unnaturally high in the headset. The fix is simple. Head to the color page, into the 3D tab. Leon tilted the camera down 15 degrees. I can enter that offset in the tilt property. Notice that Vision OS effect is checked. This adjustment is not going to get baked into the image. It will be sent to the Vision Pro as metadata. I won't make you watch the entire process of building the assembly edit. We shall jump forward to a more complete edit. Here's my assembly edit. Thus far, I've been monitoring the image in lens space. By enabling the immersive viewer controls, you can monitor using a viewport. That's a rectilinear conversion of a portion of the immersive image. That still won't give you a proper representation of the headset experience, but it can help you visualize your audience's field of view. A better solution is to view your edit in a Vision Pro. It's possible to stream directly from Resolve. Get your headset on. Make sure it's connected to the same Wi-Fi network as your computer, or alternatively, attach it to your computer using a developer strap like this one. Pop it on. Open the Apple Immersive Video Utility on your Vision Pro. Then inside of Resolve, go to Workspace, Stream to Vision OS, and select your Vision Pro. Finally, in your Vision Pro, click on the icon in the top right-hand corner of the Apple Immersive Utility app and hit Activate Client Viewer. This is awesome! But more importantly, a critical part of your immersive decision-making process. There's only so much you can infer from looking at a 2D visualization. It should be noted that you can stream to more than one Vision Pro simultaneously, which is awesome if you have a group of people sitting in on your edit session. Here's some recommendations to make your Vision Pro monitoring experience as enjoyable as possible. Take care to position your playhead before activating the stream, so that once you're in the headset, you can control playback and navigate your timeline using your hotkeys. While you're monitoring in the Vision Pro, if you need to check your Mac display, just pop the Vision Pro up on your head just like this. Because it's on your head, it won't go to sleep and disconnect. Playing those large immersive files while streaming to a Vision Pro places a heavy load on any computer, but you can turn on proxies. Smooth playback is more important than resolution. The Stream to Vision OS feature works fantastic when you have a producer or director sitting in on the edit, as they can watch while you navigate Resolve's interface. You can use a Mac virtual display to make it easier to use the Resolve interface without taking off your Vision Pro. And finally, make sure you disable the stream before rendering, as it will affect render performance. The other way to see your edit is to simply render it out. Once rendered, you can transfer it to your Vision Pro using the Apple Immersive Video utility. Don't forget, you'll need to open the app on both your Mac and your Vision Pro. Or you can use tools like AirDrop to transfer those AIVU files. Either way, it's great getting to watch your edit in the highest possible quality. What's the point of watching your assembly edit? The only way you can understand how the shots you've chosen feel and how they flow is to watch them in a headset. Use this process to understand what changes need to be made to your edit. Let's talk about some of the creative decisions we're making. It's common to see fades and dip to blacks in Apple Immersive videos. Given the realism of the immersive experience in the Vision Pro, subtly cutting from one location to another could be startling. We're only using one fade in at the beginning of the edit and one dip to black here after the opening sequence, before we go back to the start of the journey. The fade in eases the audience into the video. The dip to black is there not because we felt the transition from the sequence to the train shot was jarring visually, but because we felt the dip to black was helping the audience to understand we're going back to the beginning. It's similar to the way these transitions are used in a traditional 2D edit. What about the rest of the scene transitions throughout the edit, where we go from one day to another? This is another great example of how the grammar of traditional 2D editing can be applied successfully in an immersive edit. There's clues that you can drop into your edit that foreshadow a cut, that help the audience to understand what's coming so it's not a shock. For example, many scenes conclude with a distant shot, perhaps cutting to a wide, an extreme wide, or a location visual, perhaps even the original establishing shot. It gives the scene subconscious closure. Or alternatively, instead of a wide, the edit might linger in a close-up, longer than the other shots in the sequence. By breaking the cadence and pace of the scene, that too can foreshadow a cut to a new scene. It's not just the visuals, you can also use audio. A change in music and perhaps even J-cutting the audio from the next scene can all help. We're using a little bit of everything in our edit. For example, this lingering time-lapse, accompanied by a change in music and sound effects, makes this scene change comfortable. Whether cutting between scenes or just cutting within a scene, there's something else you need to pay attention to, something that you don't need to account for when cutting 2D, and that's depth. It's hard to spot these issues when using Resolve's 2D viewer. At least that was the case for us. It wasn't until we watched a render in the Vision Pro that we found issues. Here's an example. Shot A is an exterior showing us boarding a taxi. Shot B is an interior shot, where I'm looking directly at the camera. It looks fine in 2D, but on the Vision Pro, in Shot A, your eyes are converged on the taxi, which is far away. Then in Shot B, and suddenly, I'm in your face. It makes you feel a little bit boss-eyed. There are tools in the color page to help predict problems like this, even without the Vision Pro. In the 3D tab, set the output to anaglyph black and white. In this mode, Resolve overlays the left and the right eye and uses red and blue to show the parallax between the two images. You can see that the parallax on the taxi is less than the parallax on me in the subsequent shot. That will give you a read on the fact that there might be an issue. There's a couple of ways you can deal with Z-jumps. Use an intermediate shot. When cutting from far to near or vice versa, can you add an in-between shot that provides the audience a little hopping stone so they don't have to make the jump in one? Perhaps if you extend a shot, the subject might walk or move closer or further away, again, helping to bridge that gap. You could try a dip to black rather than a hard cut, or you can just avoid the shot completely. And actually, we're going to go with that option in our edit, as we felt this sequence wasn't the strongest. One final consideration regarding cutting is eyeline. In traditional 2D editing, it's common to cut between shots where the point of interest is composed in different parts of the frame. For example, when two people are talking, typically they would be positioned on opposite sides of the frame. Moving your gaze between them isn't an issue because compared to immersive, 2D screens are relatively small. In immersive, if the point of interest moves outside of your audience's field of view, there's a possibility that they might get lost momentarily between cuts. Early in the edit, we cut from a shot of the talent, which happens to be me, walking into frame, to a shot of the talent sitting down. I'll overlay the frames either side of the cut. You can see the talent moves. In this instance, when the camera cuts, the talent is still within the audience's field of view, but the fact that she jumps could feel uncomfortable. When viewed in 2D, that jump looks small, but the difference feels bigger in headset. The best way to avoid problems like this is to plan your composition more carefully in the first place. Can we fix it in post though? When working on 2D, you might use transform controls to adjust the composition of an image. We can do something similar for immersive. Back to the color page in the 3D tab. I've already corrected the tilt in shot A, but I'll back that correction off slightly and pan shot B. While not perfect, you can see that the location of the talent better matches in both shots, thus making the cut less jarring. Here's one last example of cutting for Eyeline. In the helicopter sequence, it approaches from the far right. When previewing this sequence with viewers, many didn't spot the helicopter until it was landing. That's because our early cuts didn't have spatial audio. Sound effects can be used to help guide people to points of interest that are outside of their typical field of view. It goes to show that the solution for a visual problem isn't necessarily visual itself. It's best to take a holistic approach to fixing problems in your edit. It's easy to become numb to your own material. With any edit, it's good to gather feedback from friends and colleagues. In the case of immersive, it's helpful to get feedback from both immersive experts and newcomers. That's where the Apple Immersive Video Utility app comes in. You can load your rendered immersive edit and stream it to multiple Vision Pros simultaneously. Here's another really cool idea. Have a friend watch your edit, but before they start, have them mirror their Vision Pro to an AirPlay device. Now you can watch them as they watch your edit, and it could provide valuable insights regarding how people navigate and respond to particular shots. Watching previews streamed directly from Resolve is helpful, but you get a better sense of how it flows once rendered. Taking notes during and after watching is incredibly useful. You can then head back to Resolve and make needed adjustments. Like any edit, the process is iterative, but it just felt more so when working on immersive. It's good to give consideration to eyeline and field of view when shooting immersive. Given the larger screen that immersive is viewed on, changes in composition have a greater impact on viewer comfort and the legibility of your edit. The edit is far from finished. It will continue to improve and grow as we tackle other jobs in future videos. Here's our to-do list. Integrating the 2D footage, adding a title at the beginning, adding on-screen text with information about locations, recording fully, mixing the spatial audio, color grading, and of course, delivery. We sincerely hope that you are enjoying this in-depth series about editing immersive content, even if you don't intend on shooting immersive yourself. A big thank you to Audiio for supporting this video. Please give it a like so we know you enjoyed it, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on the next video. And let us know down in the comments what you enjoyed or if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.